Family, good morning. It is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here today on this beautiful Monday. It is March 30th. My goodness, the month of March, actually for the first time, I think in a while, it seemed to fly by. Maybe that was because of Alabama spring football practice, a little bit of Alabama in the basketball tournament. I don't know what it was, because usually March is a month that has a lot of meat on the bone, right? But we've been flying through February. We've been flying through March. Here in just a little bit, we'll have Alabama A-Day, and then we kind of turn to the summertime, and before you know it, we'll be in the next college football season. So I appreciate you guys being here. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. How was everybody's weekend on a scale of 1 to 10? Let's kind of start off there. Today on the show, we're going to talk about the stage of the Final Four is set. How was your bracket? Did your bracket collapse? All right, so I want to hear about your weekend recap, and I want to see who had the best bracket. Does anybody still have one of the Final Four teams, as we kind of look to the Final Four? We're also going to talk about the biggest surprise so far this spring football. And I think we've had enough time to kind of figure out, some surprises within spring football, especially coming off Alabama's scrimmage on Friday, right? So we'll discuss that. We'll talk about what to watch this week, another really big week for Alabama football, going into another scrimmage before Alabama hosts A-Day. We'll talk about Xavier Crowell injury that seems to kind of be limiting him this spring, which is a little bit unfortunate. You want him at 100%, but you definitely don't want to rush someone of that talent. We'll talk about some recent comments, a soundbite from Steve Sarkisian, Texas head football coach, who said he feels good about his roster. Well, yeah, you should, bro. 100%. You should feel good about your roster, right? And then on the back end, we'll discuss the NFL draft, which is on the back end of April, and kind of where some analysts have Alabama prospects that'll be in the NFL draft. So thank you again for joining me. I appreciate you guys. I see you guys all inside the comment box. Love the support. I appreciate you guys. And the weekend recap, I like to hear how your weekend was, and I think that's always a good place to start out on Monday. I had a great weekend. I said if you caught Wake Up Bama on Sunday, drove up to Muscle Shoals. I didn't go to the city, because where the RTJ golf course is, it's outside of Muscle Shoals. Played the golf course, Fighting Joe on Sunday. Tough courses. RTJ courses, the Robert Trent Jones golf courses, they're very difficult. No matter how you slice them. I think the toughest one on the trail, in my opinion, if you're a golfer and you know anything about kind of the tour here in Alabama, I would say the course up at Silver Lakes, mind bender, backbreaker, heartbreaker. It's unbelievable. Now, I would encourage you to check it out, but it is very, very challenging. These courses up in the Shoals, challenging as well. The sand is really tough to get out of, so found myself in the bunker a couple times, too many, which I don't, which isn't part of my strong game. But it was beautiful to get outside, caught up with some friends, and just had a good time. And the way that the clubhouse overlooks, right, all the water, it's really, really scenic. The problem was it was really windy, and it was kind of chilly this weekend. But because today here in Tuscaloosa, it's going to be 85 degrees or something like that. I got it at 70 degrees right now at 10 a.m. Central Time, all right? So good weekend, and I know, you kind of look to Friday, and you kind of think back to Friday with Alabama losing to Michigan. You look to Alabama's football scrimmage. So there's definitely some key storylines going into this week for Alabama football. But before we do that, we know that the Final Four is set, right? I mean, how's your bracket? How's your bracket doing? To be honest, I like to show you my bracket. Like I said, I love covering Alabama basketball. It's always fun to follow this squad, because this is a team that can always make a run, right? And I think, I found out that I like covering basketball a little bit more each year. And I do read the comments, and some of you are like, don't talk basketball. How could you not want me to talk basketball? Football is always going to be the flagship, but it's not like I'm dedicating my life to just basketball. It's the time of year, right? Everybody's watching it. right? So, and I always put timestamps in the video, so you could always just jump through. They're like, nobody is like, you better listen to this. It's sports. We celebrate sports. We celebrate Alabama athletics, right? So here's my bracket. And I have to say, my bracket has been absolutely cooking. So I'm 99%, right? I'm winning my league. If Arizona is able to win the whole thing, I might earn a little cash from the group that I'm in. So here's my rank nationally, which is pretty crazy, right? I'm in first place in my F3 league, right? And kind of to zoom out here, the green indicates games that I had that, I picked to win. So Duke, here's kind of the first round games. I missed on this Louisiana, South Florida one. South Florida's a good squad. That game was close, right? Did pretty well in that region. Missed on, I guess I picked VCU. Oh, no, I picked North Carolina. They were upset, clearly, right? But, yeah, I had a pretty good tournament overall. A lot of green marks on the board. Here's how I had the Midwest region. I thought Georgia would beat St. Louis. That St. Louis team dominated, but I did have Michigan beating Alabama. And this was kind of one of my good picks. I felt that Tennessee, kind of looking at them and how they play, that they'd be able to kind of roll through. So I picked Tennessee kind of up here, and I picked, obviously, Michigan to beat them. So when you kind of look at the Final Four that I have, I think I have 3 out of the 4 teams. And by the way, I did pick, how about this? I did pick, trying to find it on the screen. I did pick UConn to beat Duke. I didn't know it would end like that, like it did last night. My goodness. That was one of the craziest endings that I've seen, right? Yeah, so Alabama out, but I got Arizona winning the thing. So let me know what you think. And does anybody have Arizona winning the whole thing? Arizona, Michigan, that's going to be absolutely crazy. That game is on April 4th. And UConn and Illinois, same thing. All right? Yeah, Duke choked on the back end, 100%. Yeah. But I think as, before I turn the page to, talk more Alabama football, kind of putting a final stamp on basketball is it's so apparent, it's so easy what this team needs to make it to kind of the next level. But as you kind of look to Nate Oates here at Alabama basketball, he's never had, in my opinion, athletic bigs that were overly dominant that could just be like takeover type players. All these teams that you have on the board right here, Illinois, that's a European team. UConn's huge. Arizona's huge. Arizona's guys are from Europe. Michigan's guys are from Europe, right? I guess, that's where we need to go to get quality bigs. You look at Alabama's roster for next year, what does it look like? It's always going to look good. But what does he do in the transfer portal? You're going to have elite level recruits. You're going to have guards for days, but you have absolute bigs that can get you to the level to beat a Purdue, to beat an Arizona, to beat a Michigan, right? To beat a UConn. Because I feel that those teams are kind of up in the top 8, and then Bama's kind of in the next in line. A Florida, right? How the hell Florida find that dude? How tall is that guy from Florida? Right? The guy from Florida, how tall is he? What is he? I think he's 7'9". Is he 7'9"? Because they showed a graphic during the tournament. It was when, was it Missouri and Florida were playing or something like that? Maybe it was the SEC turn. I can't remember. But another guy next to him was 6'10", and he was standing next to this dude who was 7'9". What? 7'9"? And you got to think being that tall almost makes it like life uncomfortable, right? How are you going to fit in the normal bed? Imagine going to like a hotel and being 7'9". You know what I'm saying? That'd be crazy. Sitting in an airplane? No, thank you. Yo, how is the pollen in your neck of the woods? You guys is the pollen heavy, like where you live? Man, here in Tuscaloosa, the city is painted in yellow. Man, I'm telling you. So I take like a Zyrtec or a Zyzol. Someone turned me on to Zyzol. I think it was like last year, something like that. It just, the pollen is, you want to talk about undefeated? Pollen is undefeated, especially over here. So we'll just get through the allergies as best we can. Man, there's nothing that'll slow you down like allergies, right? Just when you start to be cooking and the sun's getting out and the weather's feeling great, bam, pollen time. All right. Well, again, thanks for joining me this morning. I appreciate you guys. Moving into segment 3 here, which is biggest surprises so far for spring football practice. So, we've had some good practices so far, like a good amount. What would you say inside the comment box that would be kind of some surprises out of spring football? Leroy says the pollen in Chilton County has everything else. Same here, bro. It's crazy. And Chris inside the comment box says, what's the story with A-Day game? Is it on or off? Yeah. Chris, what's up, man? Good to see you. Yeah. So A-Day is on. It's in full go. I don't think it's going to be like anything from like the past. But yeah, they're going to have a 2-hour scrimmage. It is not going to be televised. I'll be there. I'll report on it as best I can. And we'll see how it turns out. But A-Day is definitely on. April 11th. Jarvis, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say inside the comment box, as I'm asking you guys, for the biggest surprises so far is, I think, Jackson Lloyd already emerging and kind of claiming that starting spot at left tackle. But it was interesting. I love to see the power dynamics between Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, because Ryan Grubb was like, yeah, Jackson Lloyd is our starter. 100% no competition. It's done. And then Kalen DeBoer asked about it on Friday, and Kalen DeBoer was like, the reporters were like, so there's no competition. And he's like, DeBoer was like, I think there's always going to be competition, right? I love the power dynamics because you wonder about that relationship. Like, Grubb seems kind of like the alpha. Does it seem like that? That'd be interesting power dynamics with that relationship. Because I found, did you guys find that interesting as well? Because Grubb was like, he's the guy, period. And then Kalen DeBoer didn't necessarily say that. I thought that was kind of an interesting twist. But that's definitely one of the surprises to me. I didn't think that we'd get to this point. I mean, and that was after like 3 practices. That you have somebody at the left tackle named. They haven't named the right tackle, right? Why haven't they named the right tackle? Well, I think it's because they're still trying to figure it out, giving Javen James some opportunities last week, this week, seeing how he fared during the scrimmage. Moving Michael Carroll around. Are we better with the offensive line with Michael Carroll at guard, or are we better with him at right tackle? And how do we look without Will Sanders? Because the one person that has mentioned Will Sanders' name more than anybody else has been Kalen DeBoer. He said that during the first time that he spoke at spring. He said William Sanders' name the last time after Friday. He's spoken about William Sanders twice, right? So that's kind of been a surprise for me. I think the other thing, too, is I have thought that the running backs have looked more explosive. But I haven't really gotten much feedback on that. Like, not that you have to have, feedback for every single thing, but have you noticed that as well? It seems like our running backs it almost look like a strength for this squad, and it's super early to even say that. But from what I've seen, it looks like this running back room by committee is going to be more versatile. Now, the only thing that we don't know is how they fare in pass blocking. We're just never going to know that, right? That's another good point, Jarvis. Jarvis is saying, I'm surprised that Ty Haywood hasn't, kind of earned a little bit notoriety. It's early, for sure, but I think at one point I projected him as a starter. By the way, if you haven't seen it, and I'm doing like kind of a soft release as I work on the page, but I have a roster page now built, and it's still in beta, so it's in constant update mode right now. But you can go to the website, which is BamaFootballRoster.com, and you can see the entire roster. And there's definitely some more updates that I need to make. I think there's a couple jersey numbers that need to be fixed. There's a couple, little bells and whistles. But one of the kind of the future plan of this, BamaFootballRoster.com, is and it's live now. You can go on your computer or your mobile, and you can click a certain player, and you can click on that player and get updates. So Keelan Russell, right? You can click him, and you get the update right here. Working with the first team. Now, these will be much more populated, and there'll be more updates, right, as we go forward. But one of the cool things is you can go up to the top tab and work through quarterbacks, work through running backs, wide receivers, etc., right? And it's pretty organized and it's really clean. But like I said, there's some things that I need to work on, and this is still in beta mode. The other thing which is cool about the site, you guys like the site so far? The other thing, and you can just get to it by BamaFootballRoster.com. The other thing that you could see, and this is also a work in progress, and like I said, nothing is like, I'm just testing things. I'm looking for more feedback always, and your guys' feedback is the feedback I want, right? But if you go up to the top, you can click news stories. You can click depth chart. The news stories is still completely 100% work in progress, but depth chart is pretty cool. You click depth chart, and again, beta mode, so I'm just playing with different names, different things. But you can click the depth chart and see the depth chart. And look, this is my depth chart. You can build your own depth chart, and I'll show you how. But you can mix around with it, right? Just to kind of give us an idea. And when we have an official release of the depth chart from Coach Kalen DeBoer, we'll make sure that this is properly, corrected. But for now, this is springtime. You can also see the defense if you tab over, right? And you see defensive line, bandit. I got all the positions listed there. So this is something that I spend a lot of the time, during my day, the recent, last couple of weeks kind of building this stuff. Like, why doesn't QB Reese have like any intel? I don't know. I have to go into development to figure that out. I got special teams. I got kicker. But one of the cool things is you can go up to this button right here, which is called Team Builder. And you can basically build your own depth chart, right? So if you don't like the depth chart that I'm working with, just go to the depth chart yourself. Now, I'm working on this as well, but you have to click over here first. Click here. And then you go to your quarterbacks, and you can put Keelan Russell. So click Keelan Russell. Let's see if I can get this to work. There you go. And then you can go to your running backs and say you want AK Deer. Click AK Deer. Click. Go to your wide receivers, right? Noah Rogers. Click Lazier Brooks. So that's how you can update it. And it's pretty cool, and it'll build it out. The last thing that I'll show you on the site that we're working with is you can go up to the top and you can click videos, and it has all the latest videos that are organized, right? So this is Wake Up Bama, clearly. And then there's more videos, right? And these are always updated. And then you can click news stories, and the news stories area is something that I'm still working on 100%. Like everything is still in beta, but you can click this, and I'm just, this is all sample size, but here's kind of like the article format. So again, I didn't even really like anticipate showing that again today, but I think this is something that I'll continue to show so we can continue to look at it. And as we grow, we can have kind of some place, to kick it. And I think long term, maybe within the next couple of weeks or maybe during the summertime, we put, we build out maybe a message board for our crew, because I know a lot of people had want to hear like a Discord. I've thought about that, but I also want to have like something that's kind of just integrated within kind of the framework that we can build in development now. So we'll figure it out. All right. But I appreciate the feedback always. So if you have feedback on the site, go ahead and drop it inside the comment box. Still on segment 3 right here, which is the biggest surprises. And I kind of just showed the roster. We got kind of sideways there for a little bit. But like, we mentioned the offensive line. We mentioned a little bit of the running backs. Has there been any surprises on the defensive side of the ball, in your opinion? I'd probably say Carmelo O'Neal at corner, like the rave reviews about this young man, right? At the corner position. Like, we got another 6'4" corner? Are you serious? Like, thank you. It sounds like, the transfers on the defensive side, are cooking. Carmelo O'Neal, Caleb Woodson, Devin Tompkins, Terrence Green, just to name a couple of them, right? And Devin Tompkins, as Jarvis says, he has been looking really good. And he's a guy that you can mix and match from bandit to, you can swap him to, interior as a defensive lineman. You've seen photos of him, 6'6", close to 300 pounds. What an addition. And we got to be better than last year than LT Overton, right? Got to stop the run. Inside linebackers is clearly a position, but of concern for me in the preseason because of the guys that we lost. And I felt we were better than at stopping the run compared to last year. The numbers showcase it, right? The first year couldn't stop the run. Second year could stop the run. Third year, you got to be consistent in stopping the run because that made the defense that much better. See, and like Malik inside the comment box, he's saying that Reese and Caleb, talking about Kibi Reese, that's good. That's a good update. Caden Jones out there also, right? J Money, what's up, dog? I appreciate you, man. Yeah. Consistency, I might not be like the most talented person at all. And I clearly understand that, but I'm super consistent, So I try to you look at all the variables, I think, within what you can, your controllables. Can I be consistent? Yes. Right? 100% I have to be. I got my kids. My life is very routine. The consistency has never been the issue. The work ethic has never been an issue. You know what I'm saying? It's just I'm not part of a large organization. So I know you guys are talking about Alabama baseball. I only have so much mental space that I want to cover something the best of my ability. So if I love baseball. I was an incredible center fielder. Leadoff hitter, whatever you need, I got you. But I only have, so much. What a lot of people liked has been the play-by-play broadcasting. I've never done play-by-play. That is fun. I love doing the play-by-play for basketball. Really, really enjoyed it. So is there any other surprises before we move on? The only kicking update that we got was the kicking update between Lorcan Quinn and Connor Talty. And DeBoer just addressing the fact that, you bring someone in, there's clearly competition. But we really didn't even hear any updates at the scrimmage from the kickers. Maybe this next scrimmage, which will be on Friday. So kind of moving on to what's next. But I see Jarvis pointing out something. I would definitely say Mal Waldrop's name as well on the offensive line. I didn't have that on my bingo card, Jarvis. I didn't. So Mal Waldrop, in-state guy, second-year player, getting reps at the first and second team at guard position. Now, that Will Sanders is out, but I didn't. Think about this. If I was to ask you, whose name are we going to hear more in springtime, Casey Poe or Mal Waldrop? Who would you say? I would say Casey Poe. That hasn't been the case. It's been more Mal Waldrop as the offensive line player kind of on the rise, which is great. Uncle Charles, what's up, dog? Good to see you, man. Man, I love me some Birmingham. Sometimes I wonder if I should have moved, like when I moved to Alabama, sometimes I wonder if I should have moved to Birmingham instead of Tuscaloosa. You know, I love living here, but sometimes I feel like Tuscaloosa is just a little bit small. Whereas, like, I look to Birmingham, and I feel like that's a city that's definitely like the regentrification and all the restaurants, right? But you know what? Birmingham is I think Birmingham's on the rise. They might be taking the long route, but they're on the rise. Look, Huntsville's doing great. I think Birmingham's on the come up for sure. The food scene in Birmingham is ridiculous. I'm here in Tuscaloosa. This is I think I'm going on 10 years. This is my 10th year here. All right. What to watch this week? So you have practice today. Practice is actually taking place right now. So you'll hear from players later on today, right? Alabama then practices again on Wednesday. And then it has its second scrimmage on Friday. This weekend, again, there's no scrimmage on Saturday or Sunday. And then, clearly, Alabama will have A-Day on April 11th. So this week you have 3 practice opportunities. Let me just check the schedule real quick. And then a scrimmage on Friday. So today is the 30th. That's crazy to me. So practice on Wednesday and a scrimmage on Friday at the stadium. And this will be interesting too, because this scrimmage, the first scrimmage, the scrimmage that was taking place Friday, it was held at the practice facilities, right? But this scrimmage on Friday will be at Bryant-Denny Stadium, right? And then that next week, Alabama's final week of spring practice, which will be next week, they have a practice Tuesday, Thursday, and then, of course, A-Day at 1 p.m. So that's kind of the outlook for Alabama spring football as we push forward. So how many practices do we have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 more practices. Okay, that's good. I like it. All right. This Xavier Crowell injury. You know, listening to Coach DeBoer on Friday, he was talking about Xavier Crowell, and he said that he has a soft tissue injury. And that was the same thing that Coach Grubb said, I think, the week prior or whatever. And he's kind of, been limited. Now, I did see him during the scrimmage. I wasn't at the scrimmage, but there's footage of him at the scrimmage briefly. I did have a source say that he did make a nice sideline catch, but maybe he played 5 snaps. Maybe he played 10 snaps. I don't know the rep count that he played, but he did participate in the scrimmage, 100%. But I don't know what a soft tissue injury means. And they didn't say to the arm, to the leg, to the toe. I don't know. For whatever reason, I'm kind of thinking foot, but I think I might have made that up in my head. Unless Grubb said to his foot. I can't remember. Randy talking about some good barbecue in Birmingham. You know, I've never had barbecue in Birmingham. But if you got a spot for me, let me know. Come to think about it, I really haven't been on the barbecue train in a while. I haven't had barbecue lately. But I don't know what this soft tissue injury is. And it's unfortunate, clearly, that he's not able to participate fully during spring ball. But I think what's still interesting is that the small little nuggets that we've got about Crowell, they're still very positive. So whenever he's 100%, we'll be good to go. And we've had freshmen turn it up during this time before. Like, remember Justice Haynes? I know, painful to think about. Justice Haynes scored, 3 touchdowns his freshman year? Is that right? No, 3 touchdowns the freshman year during spring football. I think it was. And then we didn't really even see him that much that year. But I think if I remember correctly, Justice Haynes scored 3 in the spring game. So soft tissue, we'll continue to follow up on that. I don't think it's anything major. I mean, he still is practicing. It's limited. So keep you posted on that, whatever that means. Soft tissue. If you know, or if you remember what Coach Grubb said, post it inside the comment box. The board just said soft tissue, unfortunate, not 100% right now. All right, moving into Sarkisian, feeling good about his roster. So a reporter recently asked Sarkisian during the springtime how he's feeling about his roster. And Sarkisian, let me see if I can find the quote, because it actually made me laugh. And Sarkisian was like, for the first time, I really feel good about the roster. And I was like, really? For the first time, you really feel good about the roster? I don't know. I'm looking at clutch points right now. Okay, I think it was maybe Chris Lowe of On 3 had it. So Chris Lowe on 3. This is who has it. It says, Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian tells Chris Lowe he has a different feel heading into 2026. I would say probably for the first time, I feel like we have a top-level talent across the board at every position on both sides of the ball, but yet also have depth behind it across the board. Are you shocked to hear that? And of course, when you paid for it, now, okay, how about this? Did Texas develop that talent, or did they buy that talent? Or combo? In what percentage? I would think that they bought a lot of that, right? And I think when you think about Texas, think about the expectations that Texas football is under this year, right? I think with store-bought talent, as Jarvis says, I love that, these guys better be able to win. Let's look at their football schedule. The pressure that these guys are under has got to be just absurd down in Austin. So let's take a look at their roster. All right. So they got their little orange and white scrimmage game on the 18th. And let's just do a little a schedule dive, because I think that this team is going to be, once again, way overhyped. There's going to be so much pressure. And let's just see where we theoretically think they could fall, okay? So, to start out, when we're talking Texas, following his comments that he said to On 3, Chris Lowe, I would probably say for the first time, I feel like we have top-level talent across the board. I don't know. It just makes me laugh. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so Texas State, count them up for me, fam. We got them at 1-0. Then they got Ohio State. Let's see. Let me think about this. The game's in Austin, so probably give the early edge to the Longhorns. Ryan Day beat them last year. Julian Sain, Jeremiah Smith coming back. Matt Patricia coming back. Defense. Arch Manning. This is a tough one. I don't know. Coin flip. Let's put them at 2-0. Okay. Texas San Antonio, 3-0. All right. At Texas, challenging game for anybody. I don't care who you are. Going over here to Tennessee is a madhouse. All right. And all their fake noise. All right. But we'll say they win that one as well. So 4-0 going into this game against Oklahoma, right? The Red River rivalry game, Cotton Bowl. All right, so we got them at 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. I would think they'd probably beat Oklahoma this year, right? Still, it's weird because that game could still is a coin flip game. They'll beat Florida. They play Ole Miss at home. Yeah, they're going to win a lot of games. They're going to win a lot of games. Look at all these games in Texas. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 games are all in Texas. This is crazy. They got one game where they got to leave in Tennessee from September 5th through nearly, the first 2 months are all in Texas. Is that interesting to you? Okay, back half of their schedule, Missouri. Finally, they play out of the. Wow, this is crazy. And then even this game against Arkansas is in Texas. A&M, Texas. These guys leave the state 1, 2, 3 times. That's really interesting to me. Yeah, they're gonna win a lot of games. I mean, the game against LSU clearly will be tough. A&M's gonna be tough. What you guys got them at? Like 10-2, 11-1? Yeah, I mean, you got to think they're way up there. I don't think that their schedule is over. I thought their schedule last year was more difficult, but the fact that they got Ohio State at home, right? The fact that they got Ole Miss at home, the fact that they have every single game pretty much in the state of Texas outside of 3, I got them in. I got them as 11-1. So, if for those of you saying that they're going to lose 2 games, who do you think they could lose to? Just curious, because I don't know. I mean, I could see them. I guess could they lose to LSU? Could they lose to probably A&M? I would say, and maybe Ohio State, right? All right, Robert Bradley, man, take it easy, man. Robert, does that post mean that this is your birthday today? Are you telling this is your birthday? Was that like a low key saying that this is your birthday? And we got a super chat in. Let's see what this little super chat has to say. All right. We got a little super chat on the board, and from Southern Alabama, doing school at UAB. See what I'm saying? Yo, TSM, man. Next time you're on 5 points, and I'm on 5 points, man. Let's link up. We'll eat some food. Yo, 5 points out there, solid. You know what? You can go to Slice Pizza, have yourself a pie, and have yourself some wings. I'm telling you. And everybody tell Robert Bradley Jr. happy birthday. Dude, what a low-key, dude, that was amazing. I like how you did that. Robert was like, yo, I got to dip out. By the way, it's my birthday. Happy birthday, brother. Shit. Man, make it a good week. March 30th. What does that make you? A Pisces? Just kidding. What is a March 30th sign? Christian says Ohio State's schedule is wild this year. Huh. I ain't really looked at it. Okay. So, like I said, I don't know about Steve Sark. Like I was talking about Steve Sarkisian. He says he feels good about his roster. I'm like, wow, shocker, because your roster is absolutely loaded. How could you not feel good about it? You bought it, and we'll see how it turns out. But Texas has the money. But I will say, before I move on from Sarkisian in Texas, I don't think that there's a lot of people out there in college football that have as much pressure on them to win a championship than Steve Sarkisian at Texas. Texas, you want to talk about expectations? Texas feels that they should win a championship every single year. Once they beat Alabama a couple years ago, I mean, it was like, okay, the next thing that we have to do is win a championship. And if they continue to kind of, be on the outside looking in, I mean, think about this. This is weird. It feels like Texas right now was a playoff team last year, doesn't it? Don't you feel like you're like, man, they're coming back? They're another play. They didn't make the playoffs last year. You know what I'm saying? And people still look. I love Sarkisian. I think he's a good coach. But in terms of like, the pressure and winning and the expectations, man, you imagine if he doesn't win. If this is the crazy thing, if he doesn't win the championship this year, what are people going to think of him? Clearly, with the schedule that they play, they're going to make the playoffs. Come on, right? Patriotic says his daughter turns 32 tomorrow. All right, we'll celebrate that on Tuesday. That's amazing. Okay, last thing that we're going to hit on, NFL draft. Okay, so kind of looking at the NFL draft, let me ask you inside the comment box, how many players in the first round will Alabama have? Agent, what's up, man? I hope you're having a really good Monday, man. Thanks for being here, man. Happy Monday to you, brother. How many first round draft picks does Alabama have this year? It's not a difficult there's not a lot of guys to choose from. I think we got two, right? You got Caden Proctor and you got Ty Simpson. And there's people all over the board on Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson is going to be the most interesting player to see where he goes in the NFL draft. I have seen him go from number 2 to to the first pick in the second round draft. Okay, can we all agree? And this isn't, I don't think this is being like fancy, but can we all agree that Ty Simpson's going to go in the first round? Is there, okay, or how about this? Run the Table Sports. What's up, dog? Good to see you, man. Is there anyone inside the comment box? Run the table. Let me know, bro. Where do you got Ty Simpson going? Run the Table Sports. But is there anybody that's with us right now that doesn't have Ty in the first round? I'm not going to be mad at you. Jay Boogie says, I have Ty going to the Jets, Browns, Steelers, Vikings. You imagine if the Browns draft Ty Simpson? How many quarterbacks? Well, you know what I'm saying? The Browns. Do they still have Dylan Gabriel? I had to check on that. That would mean they have Shador. They have Dylan Gabriel. That means they have Ty. See, run the table. I'm with you, dog. He's definitely going in the first round. Man, and it seems like the Jets just really want this dude. I'm going to be so... Look, you go to the Jets, you're going to get paid, clearly. The problem is, who the hell the Jets have around you? You basically taking over a team like with no help. The Jets have no help. See, Crystal Jones has him going to the Jets. You guys want to see the Patreonics looking for the draft order? Okay, I'll show you. See if I can find it real quick. NFL draft order 2026. Man, it's crazy. We're in 2026. I can't even believe that. 2026. Wow. Wild. I thought there'd be flying cars by now. I did. You know, I grew up kind of in that time frame where I thought there'd be flying cars and stuff. I mean, I had to say this. I went to Atlanta a couple weeks ago. And, this is the craziest thing. I went in has anybody been, before I show the draft, let me talk about this. Went to Atlanta a couple weeks ago. And rode in a Waymo. Have you guys been in a Waymo before? Yo, raise your hand if you've been in a Waymo. Do you even know what a Waymo is? So a Waymo is like a Uber, but it's a self-driving car. And you're the passenger, and it comes and it picks you up. Yo, I'm telling you, look, it was a really wild experience for a 42-year-old man to get into a Waymo and to feel comfortable. In Atlanta, right? So I get in the Waymo, and it has your name on the top. You tell it, it knows where you're going to go and stuff like that. It gives you a little spiel. You put on your seatbelt. And it's just a wild experience. And, some of the maneuvers that it made, I never felt unsafe, but it was raining. And I was like, does the Waymo need to, do the windshield wipers? Because clearly the Waymo can see everything, but I would like to see. It was changing lanes. And one time we were trying to merge over to the left, right? There was 2 lanes that were turning left and it couldn't merge in. And so the Waymo, it decided to go straight through the light, and it made a very comfortable, it turned out and made a U-turn and then came back on the road and made a right. So the total Waymo trip one time, I promise you, in Atlanta was 40 minutes. And you think about all the things that you go through within Waymo, right? You go through it picked me up at a store. It took me through a grocery, so they had to stop and let people through. Really, really wild experience. I don't know. Do I recommend it? I don't know. I mean, but I was thinking, I was like, this is it. This is a major step in the future for me. If there was one step in the future for me, it was getting into the Waymo. And was I scared? Yes. 100% I was scared. As soon as I closed that door, you're in Waymo's hands, and that's just it. So that's my Waymo experience. All right. So the draft order, we got the Raiders. This is ESPN. All right, got Fernando Mendoza. All right, that clearly we all know about that. Hey, Fromm, how you feeling? Because I know Fromm's a Raiders fan. Are Raiders fans feeling good about Fernando? All right, the Jets, in this particular article, it has David Bailey, edge going to the Jets. All right. You got the Cardinals taking Reese from Ohio State. You got the Titans taking on Styles from Ohio State. You got the Giants taking Caleb Downs, right? Let's see. We got Cardinal Tate. Man, a lot of guys from Ohio State. They still didn't win the title. Okay. We got Washington. Man, I would love to get this cat on my fantasy football team, but he's going to go right out the board. Jeremiah Love. Yo, you know what? This is a really, really good pick. If this goes through and Washington is able to get him, because, if you watch the Commanders, that's what they need, a running back. They got the quarterback. They got wide receivers. They need this guy. I don't think they get him. Yo, Ruben Bain is a Bad man. Look at him. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, Ruben Bain. Yep. Going to, man, that would be a really nice pickup for the Saints. Oof. Okay, Jordan Tyson, wide receiver, Arizona State, Kansas City. All right, Cincinnati taking a corner out of LSU. Miami taking tackle out of Miami. Dallas, well, you know Dallas going to fumble this 100%, right? How could they not? Dallas fumbles a draft pick every year. It's the most hilarious thing. Yo, still no guys from Alabama. The Rams taking a tackle. Love that pickup. Baltimore taking offensive lineman. Tampa taking an edge. Where is Ty Simpson in this draft? Caden Proctor at 17. Okay. You know what? This could be a nice pickup for the Lions. You know, I think that Caden Proctor is going to be fine in the NFL. Minnesota, okay. Carolina. Oh, this guy. You guys remember this dude? Kenyon Shadiq. This guy, if you are a Panthers fan, you better pray that this works out for you. Let me read the bio. Throughout his recent run of first round picks at tight end, Shadiq separates himself with elite athleticism. At the combine, he posted 4.39 tight end record, 43.5 vertical jump, ridiculous, and 11.1 broad, ridiculous. Oh my God. Dude, this guy, I'm telling you, if he goes to Carolina, Bryce Young's going to take them to the playoffs again. This is who Bryce needs. Okay, let's see. Cowboys with another pick? Wow, I don't know. Where's Ty Simpson on this board? Chicago. Oh, okay, here we go. Ty Simpson at number 26. You know what? I wouldn't be mad at this. I mean, here it says with Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew on the depth chart. This would be a perfect landing spot for Ty Simpson. Way, way better. Way, way better than the Jets. I'm just kind of curious to see how it shakes out. I hope that works out. I do not want Ty going to the Jets. No, please don't let it happen. But that's where we're at today, fam, for our show. All right, the topics that we covered, kind of on the recap. If you're catching us on the back end and you want to go do the rewatch, we went over the weekend recap. Right, it included driving back from Muscle Shoals to Tuscaloosa. I went through Haleyville, up through the mountains. It was awesome. Final Four is set, right? Kind of talked a little bit about Alabama basketball. It's apparent what they need to do roster-wise. We talked about the biggest surprises so far in spring football, and a lot of it was really offensive line. Jackson Lloyd, Mal Waldrep, kind of those names being mentioned, right? Where is Ty Haywood? What to watch this week? They have practice right now, practice on Wednesday, scrimmage on Friday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Discuss the Crowell injury, and I saw someone came through and was like, yo, as soon as he gets past that injury, watch out. I think it sounds like he's already cooking at like whatever percentage he's at. 100% Crowell? Yo. We talked about Sarkisian and kind of laughed about it after the quote. He's like, I finally feel good about my roster. You think? Right? You think? And then hit on the NFL draft. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for waking up with me on Wake Up Bama and joining me right here at Bama Football on YouTube live at 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. I appreciate you guys being in my corner. News as it happens. I'll break it all down. Thank you so much for kicking it with me as always. And I love you guys. I love the support. Thank you for the super chat early on. Thanks for getting active inside the comment box. Wherever you're coming from, please continue to support the channel. Super chat, thumbs up, just being here. And, I really, really appreciate you guys so much. Coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama on this beautiful Monday, March 30th, Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Be good, fam, and I'll see you next show